Hey, good morning everyone. My name is Wendelica. I am the roaster behind Bravewood Beanery, and we are here live and ready to make some yummy stuff. This is really not a cooking show, but I gotta do something and I like chocolate. So today we are going to make some Espresso Shortbread Brownie bars, and it's gonna be awesome. I'm still getting some things together. I need to heat up my oven. And I need to heat it to 350. There we go. And I have some butter that needs to soften. So we're going to wait until the butter is soft enough to work with. And I'm just going to continue getting stuff ready to go here. Give me a quick hello in the chat whenever you pop in so that I know you're here. I'm looking for my pastry cutter. I found it. This is one of those old-fashioned tools that just does the job, you know? Like, this is perfect. I love my pastry cutter. Okay, do you think my butter is softened yet? I don't think it is. It's still very cold, but if I were to slice it into smaller chunks, it would probably soften faster, right? So, I am going to do that. Switch to my overhead view so that you can see what I'm doing. Sort of an overhead view. Sort of an angled view. There's my mixing bowl. There's my butter. I'll move the tools out of the way. So happy Monday. Hope you all are having a good start to your week. We had a super busy weekend. And ended up, yesterday was not anything like what I had imagined it would be, but it was a good day. Very, very good day. Oh, come on, get off of that knife. There's got to be a better way. Just do it like that. One slice at a time. Knock it off of there. Okay, so I'm going to need 1 stick plus 2 tablespoons of butter. And it's supposed to be softened, so I'm going to just measure it out right now and let it do its thing. I'm going to need more of this butter later in the recipe. By the way, this recipe comes from foodandwine.com. If you check out their website, they have a section of the site that's all recipes, and this is called Espresso Shortbread Brownie bars. And I think it's going to be pretty awesome. I hope. This is the part of the show where Wendy comes out and makes a recipe online live that she's never made before. I hope everyone's week is going well. We actually made cider yesterday. And that was totally not on my radar at all. We have an orchard. It's right out this window here. I can see the apple trees and the pear trees. And I have been so busy this year. We just moved into this house. And we have, of course, you know, we started moving right when all the apples were coming ripe. And it was time to make applesauce, and we made some apple butter, and, you know, it was just crazy trying to move and can at the same time. I had stuff everywhere. And anyway, after a while, I just had to stop canning and stop with all of that and keep doing all the other things that had to get done. And the apples were just sitting on the trees, just sitting there, and we just about given up hope that we were going to get anything done with them. But some friends called up yesterday and said, hey, you want us to bring down our cider press? And my husband said, cider, yes, let's make cider. So they brought their apple press over, and they came over at about 3 or 3:30, maybe closer to 3:30 in the afternoon. And I knew I didn't have refrigerator space for all that fresh apple cider, so I ended up, my oven is heated, that's good. I ended up canning some of it, and we had some empty gallon jars, plastic gallon jars that we filled up and put in the freezer. We ended up with 14 gallons of fresh apple cider, and that was after we all, drank as much apple cider as we wanted to while we were working and everything. And we ended up finishing the whole canning process by, I think, 9 or 9:30 last night. So it took us about 6 hours, and now we have apple cider, and the trees are empty, and I don't feel like I wasted apples, so that's good. I'm happy about that. Alrighty. So let's get started making some espresso shortbread brownie bars, because it sounds wonderful. And as I said, I've never tried this recipe before, so we'll see how it turns out. I preheated my oven to 350, and I'm going to mix my butter flour, sugar, and ground espresso, and a little bit of salt. So I need to grind my beans. I am going to use this Honduras Copan. And how much? Oh, I only need a tablespoon, so yeah. This is a little bit of coffee beans I have left over from filling orders last week, and I am going to just throw that in my grinder and set it fine for espresso. Throw it all in there. It about like, we'll go a little extra fine since it's going in our batter. Alright, I love this grinder so much. This is the Baratza Sete 270. And it is awesome. It is the best grinder. No retained grounds in that whatsoever. I love it. It's so cool. Okay, so I have my pastry cutter. The recipe says to use a food processor, but I am going to attempt to do this by hand, so we shall see. We have a stick plus 2 tablespoons of butter and 1.5 cups of flour. And let me switch my view again. Okay, so we got 1.5 cups of flour, 1/4 cup of sugar, and I just went with white granulated sugar today because this is going to be the shortbread crust part of this recipe. And I just wanted it to be, like shortbread. Shortbread, butter, flour, sugar, plus a tablespoon of finely ground espresso beans. So, here we have our tablespoon of espresso and a little bit of kosher salt. This is a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. I'm not going to put quite that much in because I use salted butter instead of unsalted butter. So just put a dash or a large pinch in there. Okay, and we are going to start cutting the butter into this. This ought to take me a while. Shortbread is one of those things that always makes me think of the holidays. So, one of my favorite holiday treats is those Danish butter cookies. I just really, really love those. Okay, I'm just going to keep working this, cutting the butter into smaller and smaller pieces until it's all sort of incorporated. And then I'm going to press it into a pan. It says a 9 by 13 inch metal baking pan. I don't believe I have a 9 by 13 inch metal baking pan. I have a Pyrex, a glass pan. If any of you bakers out there can tell me what the difference is between glass and metal pans and how it affects your baking, I would appreciate that. I know there's a difference, I just can't remember what it does. What do you think about cutting in your butter by hand versus using a food processor? Do you think it affects the texture? It definitely takes longer. I think it might affect the texture. I just felt like doing this by hand today. We have all of this fresh apple cider in the house right now. And I saved out a half a gallon that I didn't can or freeze. And so I almost made apple cider donuts for the live stream. Oh, you can't really see what I'm doing, can you? It's not really exciting. Just breaking up this butter here. So yeah, we had a super busy day yesterday making apple cider, and we managed to get it all done by bedtime. That's very cool. I still have a lot of stuff that needs to be put away, like most everything's clean. But when your friends come over with a cider press out of the blue, would you please take that away from the microphone to open it up? Thank you. Then all of a sudden you kind of have to scramble to get your kitchen ready for canning. Here, let's go back to the chatting view. There we go. So yeah, I had to like get all the jars out of the basement and get them all clean. Then I had to get the canner out and find all of the lids and the rings, and you know. But now we have 14 gallons of apple cider. Some of it has been canned, some of it is in the freezer. And I'm going to have fresh cider to mull for Thanksgiving dinner. That's going to be so yummy. Can't wait for that. Hi, Joy. What are you listening to? Do you know what you're listening to?
I forgot what it's called.
Oh, nice. Grace Got You by Mercy Me. It's a good song.
Ow.
So if anyone caught my little countdown before I actually got going here, you need to take that open by crinkly chip bags. They're just too noisy. Anyway, if anyone caught my little video during my countdown to the live stream, that's a video that I made, gosh, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. When I first started selling coffee beans on Etsy, before I had my website set up, before I had a bean cooler, when I was cooling my coffee beans by tossing them back and forth between two colanders. And at the end of the little video it says, Bravewood Beanery on Etsy. But I thought you guys might be getting tired of the countdown video that I had before. One of these days I will make a new one. Okay, that is looking pretty well cut. Pretty happy with that. Okay, now I don't need to put anything else in this. I just need to press it into a pan to make a crust. And I'm going to bake that, it says in the lower third of the oven, for 30 minutes until the crust is lightly browned and cooked through. Alright, so now I need to find myself a baking pan. I'll wash my fingers first. I'm afraid that this does not have enough butter in it. It's really crumbly. It kind of holds together. I'm going to go to my overhead view again and show y'all what's going on here. Okay, so you can see it holds together, but it's really sandy looking still. If this were pie crust, I would want more shortening or butter or something in it to make it hold together a little bit better. I just feel like when I press this in, it's not going to stay. It's not going to hold together. So maybe I'll put a little more butter in it. What?
Permission to eat all of this.
All the Jell-O?
Do you want some?
No, thank you. But you could share it with your brother.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so we'll do this a little more butter, because all the butter that I have in there is pretty well incorporated right now. So I'm going to go off recipe and give it a little more butter. I hope I'm not destroying this. Alright, so we're just going to keep cutting in more butter. I put about a tablespoon more in. Hopefully it's not going to hurt anything. I don't think it'll hurt anything, because of course if I did, I wouldn't have done it. And I didn't, this recipe is all volumetric measurements, not weight measurements, so maybe the person who wrote the recipe had actually a little less flour by weight than my scoot measurement. That could certainly affect the texture here, the proportions that I need. I used to really hate recipes that gave me weight measurements. But the more I get into dialing in my espresso shots and things, the more I realize how important a more accurate measurement really can be. And, so yeah, I'm not opposed to weighing out ingredients now. Still have some good pieces in there. I'm going to try and put this crust back in here again. Joy blocked stream elements,
so we shall see.
We shall see. Hopefully Dana can talk to me again. Hopefully everyone can talk to me again. Oh, there's a sticker. Thank you, Joy. Now I'm a potato head. Okay, so my crust feels better now. I feel like it's going to hold together. I'm making Espresso Shortbread Brownie bars. Yeah, doesn't that sound amazing? Mm-hmm. So it's like a shortbread crust with brownie on top. And the shortbread crust has espresso in it. It has ground up coffee beans.
Oh!
Yeah. So I'm spending all this time trying to make my crust pretty, and I'm just going to throw brownie batter on top of it, so it probably doesn't matter, right? Not right now.
I know.
Okay. Rinse off the hands again, and I will show off this beautiful crust. Looks good, don't you think? So far, so good. throw it in the oven at 350 for about 30 minutes. Okay, ta-da. There we go. And I don't think it's going to take me 30 minutes to mix up the brownie batter. So while we are waiting for that to bake, I'm going to show off one of my new toys that I just got. Maybe Elena will go get it for me.
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
I love coffee making toys, and I just got this one. I ordered it a really long time ago, and it finally got here just a few days ago, and I'm so excited about it. Thank you. Check this out. It came in this cool little zipper pouch. This is from Normcore Wares, and it's actually like a hard case. Look at how pretty that is. Okay, but as beautiful as the tool is, it's not worth anything if it doesn't actually make good coffee, right? So, let me show you all the parts. Whoops, I just dropped the little coaster. Okay, so it comes with a little leather coaster that says Normcore on it. And this is the brew chamber, I guess. Is it the brew chamber? It catches the coffee. It has a filter holder that sits on top, and this confused me the first time I used it, but I have since discovered that this rubber seal is removable, and it's hollow in between the two panes of the double-walled glass, borosilicate glass. So it is supposed to be like laboratory quality glass. I'm not going to throw it on the floor and see if it breaks. I'm just going to trust that it's sturdy and hope that I never have to prove it. So it has a beautiful little wooden collar that goes on top of the receptacle. That's what we'll call it. This is the receptacle. So this sits on here and it makes that fit just right. It comes with its own little filter papers. And I think there are some other ones that might be easier to find. I haven't had to order these yet, so I don't know if they're going to be a pain to get back stocked up in my kitchen or not. But anyway, just pull out a paper filter. And it sits, I'm going to try and straighten out the little folds here. The little accordion pleats are actually kind of important to the way that the water flows around the coffee. So it sits on there like that, and I am going to pre-wet this filter so that it kind of stays along the outsides of the filter holder. And I'm not going to worry about using boiling water for that, but I am going to start heating up my tea kettle. So this baby makes 10 ounces of coffee when it's all said and done. And it actually, I should have shown you before I wetted the filter, the bottom of it, it looks like it's just flat, but it's not. There's a little bump, like a little cone that sticks up in the center of this. And I think that does something to direct the flow of the coffee down to the little holes in the bottom, so that it doesn't cake and clog it up. It actually pours through fairly quickly. So when I grind for this, I'm going to grind, certainly not as finely as I would for espresso, kind of a medium grind, but I might go just a tiny little bit finer because this does pour through pretty quickly. So I am going to use the recipe that came with this little device, and I am going to weigh out 17 grams. I think I'm going to use my Ethiopia Harrar. It's actually a brand new listing in my on my website. It's a really wonderful light roast. It's very fruity and kind of sparkly, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So I'm going to weigh out 17 grams of espresso. So this is my light roast Ethiopia. Is that focused? There we go. We'll throw it in the grinder. So here we have the Normcore Pourover, right? I do not have a fancy gooseneck tea kettle or anything, and I'm not even sure if I have enough water in this tea kettle. Make sure. I only need 10 ounces. Alright, I'm just going to add a little more water to that and make sure that we have enough. And I'll heat it up again. You thought we were ready to make coffee, didn't you? I did too. Okay, so I tried to straighten out all the little accordion folds here, and I don't think I was very successful. But it does still have some waviness to it, so I think it's going to do what it's supposed to do. It has something to do with bypassing the coffee grounds, and I really don't understand all of what I've seen online about these filter papers. But it does drip through pretty quickly, although this style of pour over tends to be more immersive, more like an immersion, like a French press, except you're not steeping it for like 4 minutes the way I would in my French press. So it's not as long of a steep time, but it is more immersive than a conical shaped pour over. So as soon as my water's hot again, I don't actually want my water boiling for this. I have a light roast. I want to be sort of gentle with it, so that I can extract all of those wonderful fruit flavors from it and not lose them from too much heat. It sounds like it's getting close to hot again. I'm going to eventually pour it into this beautiful mug. Can you see that? I love this. I had this made for me by a potter I found on Instagram, and I think, I'm trying to remember, Ceramics by KD is her Instagram name. And she did such a beautiful job with my logo on it, and I just love the glaze and the speckles. And this is a huge, massive mug. It actually holds a full pint of coffee. It is awesome. She made me 2 of these, and I just love them so much. I really wanted to make them available on my website, but the weight and the amount of packaging in order to ship these without breaking them is kind of extreme, and I just don't know that anyone would be willing to pay what it would cost to produce and ship these. So I have 2. They are very special, and they are unique. Okay, my tea kettle's just about ready to boil, so we're going to take that off, and I'm just going to wet the grounds, just like that. And I'll give it just a little bit of a wiggle there to make sure everything is wetted. And I'm going to let it sit for about 30 seconds. I'm not going to start a timer or anything. I'm just going to leave it, somewhere around there. And what this does is by pre-wetting the coffee grounds, it allows some of the carbon dioxide to escape, which actually, if that carbon dioxide is trying to come out from the coffee while you're brewing, it's going to interfere with your coffee extraction. So we want to give it a chance to lose some of that before we actually pour the water on. And I'm going to use 2 or 3 pours. I'm just going to make sure that everything gets wet, and then I'm going to let it sift through there for a bit. See, this is, yeah, it's going a little bit more slowly than the last time. I think I maybe ground it a little bit finer. I don't want these grounds to get dry. You know, I don't want to wait until all the water has dripped out. But I'm just going to top it up a few times and then let that water run down a little bit. And we'll eventually end up with about 10 ounces of a pretty stout coffee. And you can see all the bubbles on top. This is a fairly recent roast, so it's still got quite a lot of carbon dioxide kind of trapped in those beans. And let's see if I can move my camera and show you from the side what it looks like. There it is. There we go.
Hello.
All right, so we're
Hi.
going to pour the rest of the water on here. Okay. So, Drink More Arsenic is going to be making you the perfect cup of coffee, Dana. I feel like there's a story behind this. Yeah, pour-over coffees are pretty darn good. Because you're filtering with paper, you get a very clear cup without a bunch of sediment in the bottom, which is what you get with a French press. It's a lot of sediment. And I really enjoy that really thick body and the, the bits. I don't mind the bits at the bottom. But this does give you a much cleaner, clear cup. And this is just about done. It's just got a few extra drips coming out. And so I'm just going to set this aside and let it drip into the sink. There we go. And I will show you the finished product right here. Isn't that pretty? It just really looks like something, some laboratory glass experiment. But you don't need to mess with that. Thank you.
Kristen wants your color back when you're done.
Okay, I will. So this is my coffee, and I'm going to pour it into my beautiful Bravewood Beanery mug. There we go. Which, it doesn't fill it because this mug is so huge. But anyway, it smells good. It's pretty strong. That 17-gram dose is pretty stout, which is good. I mean, it's got good flavor. And it is nice and fruity. It takes me a while to identify the flavors. I had COVID a year ago, and I'm still sort of retraining my palate. I want to say it's like a little bit of a raspberry, some kind of berry in there. This is very good. Very, very good. And it is very clear. It's got a little acidity, but it's not even a whole lot of acidity, which is really nice for a light roast. It has some good body to it. And I'm going to enjoy this coffee. That is a new favorite of mine, Ethiopia Harrar. Black coffee? Yes, black coffee. I don't normally put cream or anything in my coffee unless I've just had too much and my stomach can't handle it. But this one is so smooth that I don't think I would need half and half, even if I had, you know, another cup of it. A little half and half with a touch of sugar. You know, sometimes I appreciate a little half and half with a touch of sugar. Sometimes I use the Torani syrups to give it just a little bit of that coffee shop sort of feel, you know. Okay, we're going to start making brownie topping. So I'm going to start with 1.5 cups of flour, right here. 2 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa. And if you haven't guessed yet, I really love chocolate. Most of the recipes I'm going to do on here are probably going to be chocolate. Chocolate and espresso. Just a wonderful combination. Alright, 2 tablespoons. This is organic, fair trade cacao powder that I bought at Costco. It's really good. Really, really good stuff. Okay, now it says I need some salt, a teaspoon of kosher salt. But again, I'm going to use salted butter, so I'm going to use less of the kosher salt. And I'm just going to give it a large pinch because that's the way I roll. Okay, who needs to measure recipes? Alright, now I need a ½ teaspoon of baking powder. That would help make the brownies rise, right? Sure. Yeah, baking powder. There we go. I tried to get everything out before I went live this time. I missed the baking powder. Alright. ½ teaspoon baking powder, and then I need 1 stick plus 6 tablespoons of butter. Oh, I need to melt the butter. That makes sense. Okay, so I need to whisk these dry ingredients together. So we're just going to melt some butter. I've got 2 minutes left on the crust in the oven. Oh, 1 minute, it just beeped at me. So hey, how was your weekend? Let me know. Mine was super, super busy, but it was fun. Like, we made apple cider. Did anyone do anything exciting? And how about your coffee? What is your go-to coffee in the morning? Like, do you just use your automatic drip coffee maker? Do you like to do a French press? Or a shot of espresso to wake you up in the mornings? You had to work at the job that pays the bills. Yeah, I will be doing that. Well, my job doesn't exactly pay all the bills. My husband's job pays the bills. We make a pretty good team. Okay. But yes, I will be roasting coffee this afternoon. So let's go back here and take that crust out of the oven. I've been watching some other channels here on Twitch that do cooking, and every time their timers go off on their ovens, I think, wait a minute, what do I have in the oven? So here we go. Here is our crust. It is browned on the edges. Looks just the way it's supposed to. So it smells good. This is going to be great, I think. I think it's going to be awesome. Ooh, cappuccino. Yeah, I would love to learn how to make a really great cappuccino. It's all in the proportions, the coffee to foam and milk, I believe. So do you do like a little sprinkle of cinnamon on your cappuccino? I think I would, just because, you know, you gotta be a little bit fancy when you're drinking something called a cappuccino. My butter is getting close to being melted. Normally here in the morning we do French press coffee, and we drink whatever is left over from the coffees that I roast for my customers. Right now I have the Ethiopia and I have a Bali Blue Moon that I've been test roasting that just were listed on my website yesterday? No, Saturday, on Saturday. So they are brand new, and I have been working on an Pourover blend that will be utilizing those two coffee beans. It's going to be really, really special. I want to have it listed on the website in time for Christmas orders. So if I can get it done today, that'd be awesome. But it should be done by sometime this week at the latest. Okay, so my butter is melted. And I'm going to stir in some sugar and vanilla. I have how much sugar? Oh, 2 cups of sugar. And I will be putting in a tablespoon of vanilla. Here's my tablespoon measure. And this recipe, there's a note at the end that says the bars can be stored in an airtight container at room temperature for up to 5 days. So I don't think they would last 5 days, but if for some reason you needed to store them for 5 days, you could. All right. So Dana, speaking of cinnamon and coffee, have you ever made Mexican coffee where you put your coffee grounds, you know, in your filter, and then you put like an inch long piece of stick cinnamon on top of your coffee grounds and put some brown sugar, like a couple tablespoons of brown sugar on top of that, and then just make your coffee normally? My husband made a trip into Mexico a long time ago, and he said that was the way that they made the coffee down there everywhere he went. And if you wanted black coffee with no sugar, you had to specifically ask them to make you coffee without sugar. I thought that was interesting. Okay, I stirred in the sugar and the vanilla. Now I need to stir in 3 eggs. You used to do the cinnamon stick but never tried the brown sugar. Yeah, it definitely is a different style of coffee, and I don't usually sweeten my coffee, so we don't usually do the brown sugar either, but I do sometimes like to add some cinnamon stick to my coffee. Okay, so I am just mixing in this egg to the butter and to the vanilla, and then I'm going to add this to the dry ingredients and stir it until it's smooth. Oh, was I supposed to have cocoa? I did put cocoa in there, yes, okay. I'm supposed to have 4 ounces of unsweetened chocolate in here too somewhere. So let me take a second and read through my recipe more carefully so I'm not missing anything. Oh, I was supposed to melt the chocolate with the butter. Oops. Uh-oh. Oops. Now what? I can't heat it up again because I've got eggs and stuff in here. So I'm going to have to melt the chocolate and then stir it into all of this. Alright. This is why this is not really a cooking show. It's not. This is Wendy keeping herself occupied while she babbles on about coffee. All of us people who cook do this all the time. I'm not the only one. Okay, so I need 4 ounces of the unsweetened chocolate. And I actually am using bittersweet because that's what I had It is 66% cacao. I think it'll be fine. Come on. Here we go. This old stove is getting old. This is the stove that was in the house when we moved here. And it still works pretty well. I remember when Mom and Dad remodeled this kitchen and added the stove. It's about 25 years old. But one of these days we're probably going to have to replace it. It has a knob missing and a burner that doesn't really work right. But it does have a convection oven, which is really cool. And I'm learning how to use that, which of course means that when we replace it, I'm going to have to have a convection oven in the new one, right?
I don't even know how to use a convection oven.
Well, I'm learning. Okay. That's... Oh. Okay, I'm ruining the chocolate now. I had my burner a little too hot. I should have used the double boiler. Maybe I can save it. Oh. Well, I'm just gonna let it do its thing. And then I'll scrape it out. I'm getting some chunks. It's not awful. It'll be fine, right? It'll be fine. It's just brownies. Brownies are not hard. Okay, so I did actually manage to melt my chocolate, and it looks okay. So what I'm going to do is pour my sugar and butter and all of that into the chocolate and stir it up so that we don't lose any of that chocolate. Whisk it up. So is anyone here planning on hosting a Thanksgiving dinner? I am going to be doing Thanksgiving dinner here. And I'm not going to have a huge gathering. Our kids are scattered all over the place, and my brother-in-law and his family are going to have Thanksgiving dinner with one of their kids. So we'll have my parents-in-law here, and we'll have a couple of our older kids. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be great to see family. It's not going to be so many people that it's overwhelming. We'll actually get to talk to everybody who's here. Mm-hmm. We have had some family gatherings that were so big that you just couldn't even spend time with anyone, you know. Okay. So this one's going to be good. We're going to do the traditional Thanksgiving fare. We'll do the turkey and the stuffing and the cranberries and mashed potatoes. And I think my daughter's going to bring a green bean casserole.
Which one?
Dana, you're cooking, but it'll be small. What are you making, Dana? Are you planning on doing traditional, or are you going rogue with like sushi or something? Okay, that looks good. I'm going to pour my wet ingredients into my dry and whip them up. These brownie bars are going to be so amazing. Okay.
You might have to like not eat them at all until Mother comes home.
Stay out of the fresh warm brownies.
Yeah. So you don't eat them all before Daddy gets
Oh,
home.
I need to make 2 pans.
We could.
If I had thought ahead, I could have taken a little bit of that crust and put it in a little, like a tart pan.
Oh.
And we could have done a small one to try. Yeah. I don't know, we might have to take a piece out just to show our viewers here.
Yeah. That'll be sad.
I think Daddy would understand.
Maybe.
Yeah. Alright, so this is my brownie batter. And this is my crust. And can you hold that? Just like that. All right. We're just gonna pour this over the top. Doesn't that look good?
It does look very good.
It'll even look better when it's actually brownies and not just batter. Oh, I got a little bit of batter in the mixing. Okay. I'm going to spread this over the top. And then we are going to bake it again for 30 more minutes. Okay. I'm going to get a little bit of that scraped off of there because I'm a miser when it comes to my chocolate. Okay, I'll wash off the gooey fingers. Thank you for your assistance, my dear. Okay, into the oven. "30 more minutes. All right. And this is supposed to bake until the brownie top is dry and lightly cracked around the edges, and the center will still be a bit soft. Let cool completely before cutting into bars. It has to cool completely before we can cut it.
So we won't get to eat it right away.
No, rats. But I will show a picture on my Instagram. If somebody cares to see the finished product, you have to go to my Instagram account, which is, of course, Bravewood Beanery. Oh, that is good coffee. Pardon me while I gush about my own product. So does anybody else here have a cookbook obsession? Weren't we talking about cookbooks? Was that yesterday, Dana, on your stream? I used to go to the library and I would check out cookbooks from the library, which is a pretty cool resource. That way I got to try all these different cookbooks and see if they were actually something that I would use. If it was one of those books that I just never ever wanted to return to the library because I loved it so much, that's how I knew when I needed to buy a copy of that book for myself. Wait to taste the actual baked brownies. I'm not much of a batter eater. My kids love
it's
raw
so
cookie
good.
dough.
It's so good. It's really
batter
good.
and brownie batter.
Especially chocolate chip cookie dough.
Ugh.
It's so good.
I just don't. I think it's the texture. I'm not into raw dough.
Don't understand.
I used to when I was a little kid. I loved licking the beaters when my mom made a cake or something. But yeah,
I don't really like
I'm
cake
not into
batter.
that now.
It's brownie batter and cookie dough that I like. Cake batter.
Do you like other kinds of cookie dough, like ginger snaps or? Yeah.
But chocolate chip is, I think, the best one to just eat straight.
It's just
Peanut
like
butter
butter
cookie.
and flour and sugar and vanilla.
And chocolate.
Oh, peanut butter cookie dough. I can see that.
Yeah. But chocolate chip cookie dough is the cookie dough that they put in cookie dough ice cream.
Yeah, but they make it without the eggs. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So when we're done with our stream, I have some coffee subscription orders to roast up. I send out subscriptions the week of the 15th every month. So I got that to do, and I've got some other orders that I need to roast up. I've got one local order, and I think one, is it an Etsy order? It's either Etsy or it's from a website. So anyway, yeah, you can check out Bravewood Beanery on Etsy, or you can go to bravewoodbeanery.com to see what coffees I have available right now. I would encourage people to get their coffee orders in by the first week of December if you want them for Christmas. Coffee orders right now would be great for if you want a special coffee to serve to your guests for Thanksgiving. Coffee beans make great gifts for any occasion. There, that's my shameless self-promotion. Does anyone have their Christmas tree up yet? You drink more arsenic, you've got your Christmas tree up? I don't usually put up a Christmas tree.
Our house is too small for a Christmas tree.
It is. Our house that we moved from was too small for a Christmas tree, and this house is smaller. Although it does have a basement, which is nice. Yeah, overachiever. I think I have some children who have Christmas trees up already.
Kristen.
Yep. My oldest daughter loves everything about Christmas, and as soon as she can possibly get away with it, she puts a Christmas tree up.
I would do that, but
Yeah.
I can't put a Christmas tree up because our house is too small.
Right.
And Joy and you would frown at me.
Halloween decoration is still at the top of the stairs. Yeah. I don't decorate for Halloween, but I do have some pumpkins and a little, like an iron welcome sign out on my front porch. That's as far as I got for fall decorations.
And we have the knitted pumpkins that are in the living room.
Yes, I do have a basket full of knitted pumpkins. They sort of live in the living room all year round, though.
Yeah. We should get the big one that's still over there at the other house.
Right, I made this massive, like,
It's like a throw cushion.
yeah, it's not tall enough to be an ottoman, but it's big enough that you can use it as a pillow.
It's
yeah.
amazing.
It's still at the other house. It needs to come over here. It also, I think the basket also has like some knitted stars and things in it too.
Yeah.
It's not all just pumpkins, but they're fun. They're the little knitted things, little soft toys. They're friendly. They're child friendly. You know, no one's going to get hurt even if one gets hurled across the room. So yeah, I just like them. I wrote the pattern myself. It's on Ravelry, and I think it's only $1.99, but it's fun, and I really enjoy making little knitted pumpkins. Yeah, so we don't put up a Christmas tree. I'm looking back at what we were talking about, trying to get back on track. I do have some garlands that we string up around the living room, dining room, and we put Christmas ornaments on those. So we are not Scrooges, even though we don't have a Christmas tree. And Nana used to decorate one of the trees out in the yard, I think.
She also had a bush, like the prickly bush, that was always dropping needles.
Oh, yeah, it was some kind of a fern.
Yeah, I think there was one year that she actually had a Christmas tree.
That you remember?
That I remember. Because I found the Christmas tree stand in the basement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
and I'm
there's
like,
all kinds of stuff in the basement.
Yeah, I was like, I kept telling Joy, I was like, there was definitely like one year that we had a Christmas tree. Mm-hmm. But
not here.
Not
at our house.
Not at our house, but in this house.
In this house, yes.
Nana
she used to have like a fake tree that she put up every year, and I think it had a name.
I think it did too.
But I don't remember what the tree's name was. So your tree is 9 feet tall? Wow. That's quite Is it a fake tree, or do you have like a real living tree that you decorate? We have a bunch of living trees around us. Oh, it's a fake one. Yeah. A 9 foot tall artificial Christmas tree.
Wow.
That must have like sections that you put together, right? But I guess you don't have to vacuum up pine needles.
No?
Oh, a real tree would die in a week in Texas. I think you're right. Yeah, we live in Oregon. And I think I remember reading some statistic a while back that Oregon produces like over 50% of the United States Christmas trees. We actually used to live in an area where most of the Christmas trees were actually being grown. We don't live there now. We live in sheep country now, but we used to live in Christmas tree country. And driving into town from our house, we would go past all the Christmas tree fields and all of the holly tree fields, and it was interesting. You and my son, actually, some of his first jobs were trimming Christmas trees.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So my oldest son knows a lot about Christmas tree farming. He, when he was in high school, he actually was a crew boss, and he would find his crew and gather them up and train them and take them out into the fields every day to work for the farmer whose trees he was trimming. And it was kind of interesting because there are a lot of fields out there where people started growing Christmas trees, and then for one reason or another they gave up, but the trees are still there, so they're like Christmas trees gone wild. They're still there. Yeah, Christmas tree farming is quite an industry here in Oregon. Yeah, we don't do Christmas trees. We do have a lot of trees here, but they are more like timber trees.
We have all the small-ish trees that are over there, like along the outside over there, that we could decorate those if we really wanted to.
We could. We have plenty of trees we could decorate. Maybe we could get a little Christmas tree and put it on the deck. That could be kind of cute.
Yeah.
Because then we could tie it in with the porch lights.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And then turn on the Christmas lights. That could be fun.
That could be
We
fun.
might have to try that. We got 8 more minutes on the brownies. I'm gonna give it 7 minutes. It just flipped. Oh, it smells so good. I think my coffee's about gone. It is. Still good though. You know you've got a good quality coffee when it tastes good, even when it's cold. Yeah, I think a Christmas tree on the porch would be kind of cute. Am I sending you some brownies? Well, you'd have to send me your shipping address. I can send you the recipe. It is on foodandwine.com if you want to look it up. Dana, I'll send you some coffee sometime. I've been thinking about doing some giveaways here during the live streams. But I feel like I need more than 2 people in the chat while we're live before I can do that. Because otherwise you two would end up getting all the coffee all the time, which I guess would be fine, but yeah. So you have to decide on a dessert. Is that for your Thanksgiving dinner or for one of your live streams coming up? I'm thinking that I wanted to do like some breakfast things because breakfast and coffee go together. I need to spend some time doing some research. Oh yes, coffee dessert. Yeah, there is an amazing pot de creme coffee recipe, or pot de creme recipe by the Pioneer Woman, and it's actually one of my favorite recipes if you ever want to check it out. But it doesn't take very long to make, which is good. It just takes a while to chill. 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. So yes, the last swallow of my coffee. That was really good. It's really raining out there. I don't know if you can hear it over the microphone. It sounds really wonderful. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay. Let's see how these brownies are looking. Oh, they're looking pretty yummy. They have pulled away from the edge of the pan. And they should be slightly gooey in the middle, right? Yeah, I think that's done. Cool. Let me show you what they look like. Ta-da! I think it looks pretty good. Smells amazing. Okay. They have to cool before I can cut into them, so darn it, I can't show off a slice here on the live stream. But I will post it on Instagram, and I will post a picture on Dana's Kitchen Discord, so you can check it out there. Definitely go check out Dana's Kitchen. She streams on Sundays and on Thursdays. I know this because I'm always driving the kids to orchestra when Dana's going live on Thursdays. Okay, so sometimes we just tune in on the phone while we're driving and we listen.
They smell really good.
They smell so good, yeah. Okay, well, let me look at what's going on in the chat again. And I think we're going to have to... Cool, okay. Get in my belly, absolutely. Yeah, can't wait. Yep, so anyway, I am going to sign off and encourage you all to check out my Stream Elements merch store that is linked in the chat there somewhere. And check out my website, bravewoodbeanery.com. Now is the time to be thinking about some specialty coffee gifts. And I have quite a lot available. You just have to see what I've got there because it's all, I don't have any coffees that are like substandard. They are all specialty coffees and they are roasted to order just for you when you put your order in. So, yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging in there even with all of my crazy technical difficulties and the rogue bot just blocking people. I'm so sorry. But we will see you next Monday for Caffeinated Mondays, and have a wonderful week. Love you guys. Bye.